Alright, let's give this a shot. So, if the Fiend wins. So, the Fiend beats the odds and he beats John Cena. He was happy. He won his WrestleMania, like he always wanted, and defeated Cena. But however, the Fiend was kinda almost done playing with his toys, I guess you can say, and decided he told John Cena one last thing. At the night of SmackDown, you will have to fight Finn Balor. But if you beat Finn Balor, I'll keep playing with you, which means if he beats him, that means he owns him, which is pretty sad. But if Finn Balor beats Cena, that means Cena will have to go away from the WWE for 40 days. But he tricks him by saying the word 40 years. So the match began on SmackDown, and then Cena thought to himself, hey, if the Fiend can play mind games, then so can I. So he throws up a too sweet at him, and then he smacks him in the face without the referee noticing, and then meanwhile, well, I guess you could say, or just happened right like in 2 seconds, the match was over. Finn Balor won. So John Cena said a few words on the mic and said, you know what, Fiend? Fine. I'll leave for 40 years, if that's what you want. So he dropped the mic, and he walked off. Meanwhile, on Monday Night Raw, Sasha Banks was about to finish off her feud with Asuka, and that was finally over. Who was she going to challenge next? That's right. Not only then Vince McMahon's daughter, Stephanie McMahon. And guess who came after Adam Cole's championship? None other than the Fiend Bray Wyatt. He basically went scoop, took the title, and destroyed him. And that was it. So the Universal Championship is back, so they had to retire the World Heavyweight title. And so once again, the Fiend had pretty much destroyed the whole entire roster of SmackDown. But it ain't gonna be like that much longer because the draft is about to begin and there's gonna be more other competitors / other wrestlers from Raw drafting to SmackDown to destroy the Fiend. But the Fiend has got to figure out a plan to destroy the new wrestlers who are coming into the main roster. But there is one thing that the Fiend must do. He must become WWE Champion. If he becomes champion, he's unstoppable. He can use his powers, his mighty powers, with the championship that no one cannot stop the Fiend as champion. Once he's champion, you cannot defeat him. If you can defeat him somehow, some way, oh. So the Fiend showed up one night on SmackDown and told the world that he was going to Monday Night Raw. And besides, the draft was still continuing, and then it finally ended with one last wrestler going to SmackDown was Finn Balor. Meanwhile, the phenomenal AJ Styles on Raw is your WWE Champion, and he held on to the title for about 197 days, so about 200 days basically, and then the Fiend came out and won the championship from him. 2 more months passed by, and it was Money in the Bank, the pay-per-view. So it was going to get very, very exciting this year. So Cesaro had beaten Jeff Hardy because he was about to main event at Money in the Bank pay-per-view because he was going to be at the men's ladders match. For the women's match for the Money in the Bank contract, not so much. Wasn't very good. It had the same wrestlers just from last year, just like in 2020, but this one's different because it's created in my universe how I want to see it in a storyline perspective. Yeah. How do I say this? So Dana Brooke won. That was it. And not only that, the phenomenal AJ Styles finally wins the Money in the Bank briefcase for the men's ladders match. So he won, and now he questioned himself, should he cash it in on the Universal Championship, or should he cash it in for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship that The Fiend took from him? So he thought about it really carefully and decided to think about cashing it in at the Royal Rumble. Meanwhile, Sami Zayn is still rocking the championship out because, well, he is your champion. And then all of a sudden, the phenomenal AJ Styles came out and decided to fight Sami Zayn. But no, he's not here to come after his championship. He just wanted a match, so he can show how dominant he is since he is your Money in the Bank champion, or Money in the Bank contract champion, or whatever you like to call him, or the Money in the Bank keeper or holder or whatever. Meanwhile, at the end of Monday Night Raw, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson came out and beat up the Usos because they were having a match with the New Day. Meanwhile, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson were supposed to have a match with the New Day, but unfortunately they got injured from last year's Royal Rumble match. It was between a tag team match between Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson going up against good old Big E and Xavier Woods. Meanwhile, Finn Balor is your SmackDown Universal Champion, still holding on to the championship pretty good, had some good 10 out of 10 matches, and he's pretty doing good right now on SmackDown. Meanwhile, the phenomenal AJ Styles makes an appearance on SmackDown and decides he wants to talk to his good long pal, Finn Balor. So he goes on the mic and he tells him, "Hey man, I don't want to go after your championship. You're a good brother to me. Why would I want to go after you? Even though I am your good old WWE Money in the Bank contract champion, because I'm holding on to the most important contract in the world. I can cash in anytime, any place, anywhere," he goes. Right after AJ Styles was finished talking to Finn Balor, he walks off. But Finn Balor stops him just in time before he left the ring. He had a few words to say to him, and he said, "For being honest with me, I'll have an open mind about it." So what Finn Balor is saying to AJ, he'll go, "Okay, I'll trust you. I'll go with you on Monday Night Raw. But I will promise myself that if I don't lose this championship, I'll be just fine. But if I do, I'm not going to give up until I win this championship back." But he also says, "If you ever decide to cash in this Money in the Bank contract on me, then our friendship's over." On the next episode of Raw, the Fiend showed up and the lights went out. The fans got super scared, but mostly of them got excited, and then the Fiend showed up in the ring. The fans cheered for him, of course, and the Fiend decided to say a few words. He decided to say, "Whoever wants this championship, come and get it." In other words, let me in. Before even the match began, all of a sudden the lights went off again. AJ Styles was shocked, and then when the lights came back on, his memory decided to come back. Something that scared him that he would never forget. It was an old pay-per-view that he was in. It was old Elimination Chamber, and he saw John Cena. A poor, lifeless John Cena. And Cena opened his eyes with fear in his eyes, saying, "AJ, help me. Help me." Lights out, it happened. And then 1, 2, 3. And then after that, the lights went back on, and the Fiend held on to the championship, didn't let go of it. And then AJ, his poor body, couldn't take it. He was on the ground, and he couldn't move. But quite frankly, he didn't cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase. This was just a normal match. I just want to let you guys know. Meanwhile, Finn Balor finally loses his SmackDown Universal Championship after holding on to it for 333 days. And he started to feel really sad for losing the title because he was doing so well as the champ. But now he feels less motivated, and now he has one last thing to do. Go to Monday Night Raw and team up with AJ Styles. Adam Cole had the best phenomenal match on Raw. He defeats Seth Rollins. And by the way, this was also going to be Seth Rollins' last match, so he retires from wrestling, but he still stays in the WWE and helps out. Finally, at the Royal Rumble, it was here. The old WrestleMania season time. It all had to start it off from the Royal Rumble. Whoever won the Royal Rumble will go and main event at WrestleMania. So for the meanwhile, let's do this. Alexa Bliss wins the Royal Rumble, and she will go after against the Women's NXT Champion. And Dana Brooke cashes in her Women's Money in the Bank briefcase and becomes the Raw Women's Champion. Meanwhile, on SmackDown, Rhea Ripley becomes the face of SmackDown, so that's pretty good as well. AJ Styles was thinking about cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase at the Royal Rumble, but he decided to wait for a little bit longer until WrestleMania. So Adam Cole became Intercontinental Champion, and Finn Balor becomes WWE Raw Universal Champion on the long side of Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson as your WWE Raw Tag Team Champions. And then all of a sudden, a big return at the Royal Rumble, and that was... Yes, John Cena's back and a brand new attitude of his. He joins the NWO with alongside of Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and Pac. Together, the NWO are gonna rock the WWE Universe, and they did. And then they're gonna have a match at WrestleMania. John Cena versus the Fiend Bray Wyatt for his WWE World Heavyweight Championship. And there is no spoilers either, because we all know who wins. The NWO get involved and try to distract the Fiend, and they did so. And then John Cena became your WWE Champion at WrestleMania by beating the Fiend. John Cena was about to celebrate on Monday Night Raw, and then all of a sudden, super kick out of nowhere. Adam Cole super kicks John Cena, and then AJ Styles runs out with the Money in the Bank contract that he has, and he cashes it in. He cashes it in, ladies and gentlemen, and then 1, 2, 3, and he becomes your new WWE World Heavyweight Champion of the world. And then a civil war happened. It was between NWO versus the Bullet Club. This is What If the Fiend Won, Part 2. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like and share this video with your friends, and most importantly, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.